talented director, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later on. But awesome, guys. The People Under the Stairs. Love the story. It's so great. Ending really caught me off guard. You know, there's a scene where somebody escapes the house and you're like, fuck, it's over. Boom, movie's done. Credits start rolling. But they don't, and it keeps going on. And I'm like, I was just so thrilled to watch the movie. I went into it not knowing when I was going to come out, you know, happy horror fan or not, but fuck, I love this movie. That's why it comes in at number 3, and that is The People Under the Stairs. Definitely check it out, guys, if you have. Okay, coming in at number 2, this is another Wes Craven classic, but it is very underrated. Not a lot of people talk about it, which is surprising because it is such a great film. It's coming from 1988, and it is The Serpent and the Rainbow. This one is starring Bill Pullman, a great actor for a great film. This is a mystery-type psychological horror film where you don't really know what's going on throughout the whole film, and it spends its entirety of piecing together an even bigger puzzle that you find out towards the end of the film. I love the story. Bill Pullman plays an anthropologist from Harvard University who pretty much goes to the Amazon jungle and discovers these herbs, which he drinks something and it pretty much sends him into a bad, looks like a bad acid trip, takes these hallucinogens, and he barely gets back home. But when he gets home, he delivers these herbs, and they really want him to go into Haiti and figure out the whole zombie situation. And for those of you who don't know, zombies are real, or are, you know, said to have been real. And that's not the George A. Romero created zombies. This is the mind slave zombies. This is the zombies that they would kill, bury, they would raise from the dead, and they would go on living a life not knowing what was going on and pretty much slaving and serving as mindless people. So they send Bill Pullman's character to try to find out the whole situation in Haiti, figure out if it's true or if it's false, can they actually make zombies. And it's just such a thrill ride throughout the whole film. It has a slow burn, and if you're not a fan of films that have a slow build-up, you're not going to like it. But it takes someone, it takes a certain person to really like slower films. I love slower films. Now there's some films, if it's almost completely lacking dialogue, I'm not a big fan of that. But there's some films that I don't like that are slower, but I do love a lot of slow-burning films, and this is definitely one of them that does that, but it does it so well, and the great acting and the great imagery, the directing from Wes Craven is just perfect. It's beautiful. Love the film, always have, and it's got a great story, great cast, great director. What more can you ask from The Serpent and the Rainbow? Definitely give this one a watch. I know a lot of people haven't even seen it, and if you haven't, it's worth a view. I mean, I love it. You might not like it as much as I do, but it definitely deserves to be in your collection because it's a great Wes Craven film and a great story, and I love it. So, coming in at number 2, The Serpent and the Rainbow. Okay, coming in at number 1, my all-time favorite Wes Craven film. It is, you could have guessed it, a 1984 masterpiece, and it is A Nightmare on Elm Street, starring Robert Englund, Heather Langenkamp, Johnny Depp, Amanda Weiss, however you pronounce her last name. This film, there's just so many things to say about it in so little time. I could talk for 5 hours about A Nightmare on Elm Street. I love the story that Wes Craven once gave in an interview about how he came up with the story of A Nightmare on Elm Street. It was a 2-part story, and it was really 2 reasons how he came up with it. One, there was an old homeless man who wore a hat, a coat when he was a kid. He would sit outside of his building and he could see him out of the window, and one night the homeless man stared up at him and smiled and creeped Wes Craven the fuck out, made him go to bed, and never looked out of that window. That was one thing that always stuck in his mind when he was a kid. He even said so himself. And another thing was a true story about a kid who was afraid to go to sleep. Said there was a man in his dreams that was trying to kill him. Well, the parents just kind of blew it off as this kid is it's just a kid. It's a dream. It's imaginary. He's just overthinking it. But this kid would not go to sleep. He was very persistent in the fact that if he went to sleep, he was dead. So one night they pretty much drugged their kid to get him to go to sleep, and the kid never woke up. And upon the police investigating everything that happened, taking the body out, they found a coffee pot in his room as well as caffeine pills, and he died. There was no concrete reason why the kid actually died in his sleep. So Wes Craven put 2 and 2 together and came up with Freddy Krueger, a horror icon that everyone will know. This is something when I'm dead, years from now, many years from now, when we're all gone, there will be people talking about Freddy Krueger and A Nightmare on Elm Street. It will live on forever. I mean, it's a horror icon that will never be forgotten. Now, getting that out of the way, the story is fantastic. It's very unique, and like I said before, Wes Craven has directed everything so differently, each of his pieces of work. He's really just said, fuck it, and threw out the script with whatever he's done before and said, let's just make something new. And that's very admirable. That's something that I admire as a aspiring filmmaker and actor myself. I admire that he just went off the charts and just did something new every time he directed a film. I mean, there were similarities, of course. You're going to get that no matter what, but the directing style remains the same. But everything looked so different. Everything felt so different. The characters were completely different, and a lot of directors just keep things the same. He was a great, fantastic director. The story to this one, I love the Freddy Krueger idea of Freddy Krueger being a child killer, and the parents, murdering Freddy Krueger and covering this up from their children. Many years down the line, their children start to pay the consequences for what their parents did. So the parents reap what they sow, pretty much. Freddy starts coming to them in their dreams and killing off these kids one by one. And that's something that we've never seen. A killer, a slasher in your dreams. Your dreams is supposed to be a place where you can control your dreams. It's supposed to be a safe place. I mean, in this world, there are no safe places. I mean, anything could happen at any times, but in your dream, it's supposed to be safe, peaceful. You're supposed to be able to control it. But when you flip the switch and put your dreams in control of a psycho who has been wronged by your parents and pretty much burnt to the ground, you're fucked. And I just love the story. I love how creepy Robert Englund portrayed Freddy Krueger, especially in the first film. Later on in the sequels, he had that comedy aspect to him, which I like, but I don't like at the same time. I mean, I love the creepiness. There's a line in the original film that is one of my favorite lines in any Nightmare on Elm Street film. It is when he is trying to kill Tina, and she says, "Oh God," and she either says, "Oh God," or "Please God," and he raises his hand up and he says, "This is God." Badass line. There's just so many great lines, so many great effects. I mean, if you look at the bathtub scene where he's about to attack Nancy and the claw comes out of the water. If you look at the Tina death scene, which is one of the greatest death scenes of all time in horror films, where she is slung all the way across the room and stabbed. It's so brutal, it's so bloody, and they failed so miserably in the remake. It's so fucking terrible. So terrible in the remake. Everything. I mean, the CG face, where some of the piece of the face was CG, why the fuck would you have to do? I mean, look at this. The effects look better in 1984. That makes no fucking sense. I mean, that's just so dumb that the remake, I'm not going into it. Fuck the remake. This is about Wes Craven. This ain't about the shitty remake. So just a phenomenal, it's a masterpiece of a horror film. It's one I've always loved. It's one that my children will love when I have kids. They're definitely going to watch A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's one that my entire family loves. And Wes Craven just delivered so much in this film. And it's just such a classic film. That's why it comes in at my number one, being my favorite Wes Craven film of all time. So, yeah, that's my top 5 favorite Wes Craven films. And I just want to say that I'm very saddened, as well as everybody here on Late Night Frights, that we lost such a memorable, such an influential horror director that we will never get back. That is a loss that is very bad, very bad and very saddening and depressing loss to lose a director such as Wes Craven. He was definitely one of my favorites, will always be, and although he may be passed, his spirit will live on in the films that he's created and the joy that he's brought into every one of our lives just by creating these great, fantastic horror films for us horror fans. So yeah, he did the greatest job in the world. He was a great guy, and he did everything that he could in this industry, and he really stepped it up a notch, in which most directors can't even say that they've touched. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and rest in peace, Wes Craven. You've done amazing horror films, and we will always watch them, and we will always love them. So thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned, guys. Tomorrow, Chris Brock will be going over his top 5 favorite Wes Craven films, and that will continue throughout the week with all of our members. I'm the Jay Sloan. You just watch Late Night Frights. Comment, subscribe, and as always, guys, keep it horror. Peace.